This is a little bit of a different video to normal. Yesterday was the anniversary of the passing of a very dear friend of Fritzy and I. But Esther and her unborn child lost their life due to a murder. They were murdered by Esther's husband. And so I wanted to do something to remember Esther, because for many people left behind, it's been a road of healing, and a lot of prayer and forgiveness had to be found. And we have a permanent reminder of Esther, for her 2 children are in our family. We are the guardians of her 2 children out in Tanzania that were left behind after this senseless act. And so I thought about how I would do this, and I realized the best way I feel I could honor Esther's memory is to remind everybody, when Satan attacks full force, which is what happened, then we need to know, between all of us, the only place Satan has power. And that's how I've decided to remember Esther. Satan in this world only has power in our weakness. When we yield to temptation, if we yield to temptation, Satan gains power and a human to work through. Beyond there, once that happens, other humans can be hurt. And if we are hurt by those who have yielded to the temptations of Satan, and we do not forgive it, and we retain anger inside of ourselves, we begin a process of weakening who we are for us to also yield to temptation. You see, if someone does something that hurts you directly, or hurts somebody that you love, and you hold inside you anger and unforgiveness for that person, then you have made a decision to hold acid inside you. And it corrodes you. It does not corrode the person you hold it for. It corrodes you. And that process of that corrosion gives space for the devil to have more power to tempt you. And so the only space in this whole world that Satan has power is whereby men yield to the temptations of Satan, or whereby we are affected by the harm done to us by those that do, and do not forgive, and retain that corrosiveness, that acid inside the container of who we are, which is anger and frustration and unforgiveness. And while we are corroding inside, we open ourselves up to, in the future at some point, yield to the temptation of Satan. If you see that, you can begin to gain your dominion over this power that works against us. And I will say that when you have to deal with something like that, and you have a big topic to forgive and to heal your heart from, which we have done, we will always love Esther, and we miss her, but we recognize that her husband was ill, he was unwell. He was so unwell, so you understand how this works in Satan's kingdom. We discovered that this man, when he was a child, his father had murdered his mother. and nobody had healed him. And he held on to all of that inside, that anger, that frustration, that confusion, that lack of forgiveness. And there was a long process of corrosion by holding on to this acidic anger and lack of forgiveness inside his soul, inside his heart. And that corrosion leaves him open to the temptation of the enemy, and for the same spirit that made his father kill his mother to enter him, and for him to take the life of his wife and unborn child. If you want to disable temptation, you have to stop being reactive action. Your attention does not need to react to every impulse of the flesh and every thought that comes up in the veil of thought. Most of us are out of control attention. We are so off-center that every impulse of the flesh, every thought that comes, we follow it, like moths to a flame. We are not taught how to put separation between us and thought. So we are often blameless when we do this. But when you become the truth, excuse me, when you become the awareness that is aware that you are thinking, that is aware you have thoughts, that is aware you are your name, that is aware you are your memories, that is aware of all of those processes of the mind, and you recognize your core nature is awareness, there you have the power of Christ with you. That is the peace, presence, and power of Christ. For there you have that stability in overcoming the world, overcoming the mind and the impulse of the flesh. You are aware of it all. And when you are aware of it, as the mind throws up a thought that is going to lead you to yield to temptation, you will see it and have space to say no. When the body sends an impulse and you know it's going to make you yield to the wrong actions, if you are aware you are the impulses of the body, you are aware of the impulse of the body rather than believing you are the impulse of the body. As you slow down and separate, as you become aware, and you are aware of that impulse, you can say no to it. But if you are not aware of the impulses of the body, if you are not aware that you are your name, then as soon as a thought comes, you'll believe you are the thought, as most believe they are their thoughts and memories. When the impulse of the body comes, you'll believe you are your body. And Satan's got you. That's why the fallen nature of the knowledge of good and evil is always this state where we lack control of thought because we aren't in that awareness. We believe we are self. We are led into a state where we believe this collection of thoughts is who we are, and so we have no space. Because if you believe you are a personality, you have no dominion over your thought because you have not connected to the truth of awareness and being aware of them. You haven't recognized your true nature is a unity with God. You believe you are a personality. That means that you are allowing thought to be the identity that is at the forefront of what you are, and therefore you have minimal control over the thoughts that come, including those that make you yield to temptations. And so when you become into that space of awareness and you see the world through this natural silence that comes over the mind, that ability to see the world without your memories and knowledge and language, it generates energy in your heart, and that energy allows you to forgive through no effort. There's no effort, there's no self-improvement, there's no working on this and working on that. It comes, it builds in you. For it is the presence of God, the presence of Christ, and the presence of that love that knows no depth, love that knows no condition, awakening in you. But for you to access that, you must become the separation from self to awareness. And there where you sit in that presence of God, all is healed. It configures and processes what you have gone through. In our instance, the need to forgive this man, the need to understand his illness, the need to understand that if you hold on to anger for anything and anyone, you are disabling your powers as a spiritual being. You are allowing the retention of a corrosive material inside your heart, inside your being. This acidic anger and unforgiveness which is corroding you from the inside out. You can't forgive until you embrace the supernatural love of God, because it takes a supernatural love to forgive someone who murdered, for example. It's coming to the point where you realize all along that the love that you believed you loved with is the love that you are. And so in that space, which is the presence of God, of the awakened awareness, it gives you the energy to forgive. It gives you the space to see the impulse of the flesh, which will make you yield to temptation. It gives you the space to see the thought that's going to lead you to make you yield to temptation. And there, you've just gained the power in this world to start overcoming the devil. Because that's the only place the devil has any power over you. You can make it as complicated as you want. You yield to temptation, the devil enters. Demonic influence can't come to you unless you yield. And so that's how I choose to honor our beautiful friend. Don't be angry at anybody. It's an emotional punishment for yourself. It's an anger that punishes you, not the other person. It's a corrosive thing to hold in you. You hold anger for another, you hold it corroding you. Unforgiveness, it's all alike. And when men are led into these senseless acts, know that they have yielded themselves deep into the temptations of the world and lowered themselves so far down into the arrogance of self and separation, so far away from the truth of presence where you couldn't possibly hurt another. You have such love and empathy for all that is around you. But they only arrived there because nobody offered them presence. No one offered them God. Truly offered them God. Not a dualistic idea of a historical God and stories, but here and now, where it's needed, the transformative love and presence of God. It's not offered to them, and they spiral into such a dark space of separation that they can take another's life. Satan's not a complicated being to overcome. The complicated being is you. Satan knows how complex you are and relies on that. But once you overcome you, once you understand you overcome Satan, because you understand how Satan has been getting in. I think I said all I wanted. I will always love Esther, and I miss her dearly. But I know she's in a better place, and I know she lived an awesome life and shared a lot of love in the world. And I genuinely wish for the man who did this to find healing as well. For I truly know that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. And it took some time to come to that. But the truth is the truth. And these primal arisings of wants for revenge and anger, if you sit with them long enough, you will see that they are acidic. You will see they corrode you. They will see they lead you to becoming yet another minion of the devil, or another opportunity for the devil to manifest in temptation inside a human. And so you take the true stand, the true rebellion against the enemy, and you love it into oblivion, where it takes a knee and it quivers. It has no idea how to deal with you. And where you're in that space where you do not think of self, and that consciousness that is open and allowing spirit to move in you, you will cast out the spirits that make people perform these acts. You will purify them. The truest rebellion is remembering we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places, and you cannot fight that spiritual wickedness with human emotion. But the spirit can fight it. It just needs your organism, your soul, your body, free of a persona, so it can stimulate your intelligence and work its supernatural ability through the organism you are in this 3D realm. And there, you'll see actual progress against the enemy in your life. You'll build structures that eradicate the enemy's work. You'll see it on one-on-one situations in your own life, in the world around you. You won't just be angry, beating your chest, shouting about the devil and the devil's minions and the devil's workers. You'll be building structures. You'll be creating change that pulls the plug on the devil's fuel source. And that's what's needed. The devil's a simple enemy when you understand who you are. God bless, guys. Rest well, Esther. I'm certain you are happy with the way your children are with us. And I hope this message serves your memory in a positive light. It's the way I choose. It's the way I choose to remember today. God bless, guys. Be well.